Hi, I thought it was time to introduce myself. So I'm Samantha Jewel, and I got into this very unusual space of blockchain and crypto a couple of years ago. But my background is actually in agriculture, and I got into that even longer story ago, about 20 years ago, through the experience of working with thousands of people in the restaurant industry. My family started the first restaurant chain in Australia in 1965 called the Pancake Parlour, and I worked very much on the floor. I was an artist, practicing artist, and I really knew nothing to do with the agriculture elements whatsoever. So in about 1997, 98, I was having a kid and I had some problems with the birth, and I thought that's very unusual. I wonder why I had those problems. I had no genetic history about them, and I started to be interested to see, sort of a bit like down the rabbit hole, what was going on. Alice in Wonderland being the family theme. So I started to research what was in the family food in the restaurants, because we were feeding 50,000 customers a week at the time, and on the news was this thing called mad cow disease, which was this crazy idea that cows had been fed meat. And even I, who knew nothing about agriculture, thought that's the craziest idea I've ever heard of, not only meat, but cannibalizing themselves. So I started to look into the whole issue, and that led me to look into what was in all the food and to write to all the food companies that were supplying us cans and tins of things that we made the food up with, and ask them what was in the food. And again, I found, as information kept coming in, that there was a lot of things that even they didn't know. I.e., sugar had this thing called a genetically modified enzyme in it, and they were dumping it in the brown sugar. So people had this idea that brown was healthier than white, but actually it had this enzyme, and most of the ingredients that you buy have got some level of sugar in them, which in itself we know is incredibly bad for you anyway. But be that as it may, we all love sugar. So let's see, I thought a bit more about how we could at least get this thing we didn't really know too much about. So my family had actually, my stepfather had actually grown up in Midwest America, and his family were for 4 generations of wheat farmers, and they'd lived through the Dust Bowl, and it was a really horrific time, and it was caused by the children being sent off to the industrialized revolution that was going on in agriculture, and it had caused this tremendous degradation to the soil. And because of that, it caused famine and eventually caused the stock market to crash in the 1930s. So he was very aware of what he called unusual solutions. So when GMO came out and mad cow disease, he actually sanctioned me to study for the next 10 years. And I went all over the world with his support, the family support, looking at how we could make the food at least secure and healthy for people, because we felt a responsibility to the customers. Anyway, that's enough for now, and I will be adding to this in the next installment.